I've had the honor to walk with the holy ones. I had the honor to walk with broken ones.
Tonight, remembering our murdered and missing, special ceremonies are planned across Canada.
I think it's just the same with all of us wearing our shirts. It just gets people asking questions like what's going on, because this wasn't something that I learned.
A town in southern Ontario follows a new path forward on the heels of the Truth and Reconciliation Day. And a chastised Prime Minister reconciles his no-show appearance on Orange Shirt Day in favor of a personal vacation in BC. Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Today is the National Day of Action for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls and Gender Diverse People. Across the country, there were Sisters in Spirit vigils to commemorate the ongoing tragedy. Today, a march and vigil took place in Calgary to honor the hundreds of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls across the country. For the fourth year in a row, Stephanie English walked more than 2,000 kilometers from her home of the Piikani Nation to Calgary to remember her daughter, Joey English.
I've had the honor to walk with the holy ones. I had the honor to walk with broken ones, including myself. I will keep walking for justice. This mother will not stop until justice is done for all of us.
That's 200 kilometers that she walked. Well, Sisters in Spirit is being honored across the north today as well. In Whitehorse, around 50 people silently marched in honor of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in the Yukon and in northern BC. The march was followed by a gathering at a local cultural center for family members and Yukoners to reflect on the day.
And I hope that the message continues to grow beyond those that are here, so that we as women and girls, Indigenous women and girls, can join around the circle in safety, and that we can lead a path, a good path forward for the next generations to come.
To Winnipeg now, where the day was marked at the Forks, a historic gathering place of First Nations and Métis people. A fire was held this morning at Odina Circle, followed by a sunrise ceremony. It will continue to burn all day as more people join to honor the memory of the missing and murdered women and girls, and to create awareness of the lives that are lost and often overlooked.
This is an issue that affects us all, and when Indigenous women and girls are safe, then the whole community is safe. So it's something that we all need to participate in and take responsibility for.
In 2017, Manitoba became the first province to proclaim October 4th of each year as Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls Day. At least 1,200 Indigenous women and girls have gone missing or been murdered in Canada since the 1980s, and actually advocates believe it's far higher than that. Thanks to our friends at CTV for that viz there. The Native Women's Association of Canada is also honoring missing and murdered Indigenous and women and girls and their families. I caught up with NWAC President Lorraine Whitman earlier. Lorraine, it's wonderful to see you today. What is the meaning of today for MMIWG families?
Is what it is. It's supporting all of the families that have lost a loved one, through the missing, murdered Indigenous women, girls, and gender diverse. We're here to support them. We're letting them know that they're not alone, and we'll do everything in our power that we can to stand beside them, not walk in front of them or behind, but we're beside them and supporting them.
It's a lot of heavy lifting you guys have been doing the past week. We had the Truth and Reconciliation Day, and now we're here today. So kudos to you guys. That's a lot of heavy emotional lifting for you guys to do. What are NWAC's plans for ending this violence? I mean, can you even get your head around how to end violence against missing or against Indigenous women and girls?
Well, first of all, we need to be there at the tables in helping decision making being told from the Indigenous lens of women that are there, not just by men or non-Indigenous. We need to be there at the tables, and we need dollars that will help with our healing process, with our resiliency lodges that we would like to have in each of the provinces and territories. We need that. We need healing. And as far as that's concerned, all of Canada needs healing, especially with the remains of our children that have been found. We knew it happened and occurred, but the regular, Canadian was not familiar with all of that.
Absolutely. So what do you think the benefit is of us marking this day every year? How does that advance your plans to kind of tackle all of these issues?
It's educating. It's dialogue, communicating. We need to communicate. We need to dialogue with all of the family members, with all of Canadians, and let them know that it's important. These are lives. At the finding of the national inquiry, it's stated as a genocide. Let's move on. Let's move forward in a positive way. And that's the only way that we're going to do moving forward in this dialogue, is working together and healing.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and for all the work that you guys are doing, leading this charge, and all of the work that you guys do at NWAC. It's appreciated.
Thank you. And, for more information, you can always look at our website, nwac.ca, and see the initiatives and our calls for justice. Thank you.
Love it. Merci.
Merci. Walalen.
More Sisters in Spirit vigils are happening right across the country tonight, and we will bring you highlights from those on tomorrow's news. Well, we want to hear what you think on this or any other story. There's lots of ways to engage with us. You can send your emails to news@aptn.ca. You can leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and now TikTok. Follow APTN News and join the conversation and see our latest stories. He feared for his life. That's what the RCMP officer who fatally shot Rodney Levi over a year ago testified at a coroner's inquest in New Brunswick today. This came after the jury listened to 911 calls stating that Levi was not a threat. Angel Moore was at the inquest and brings us up to date.
I'm here at a hotel in Miramichi, New Brunswick, where the coroner's inquest of the police shooting of Rodney Levi is being held. Levi, 48 years old, of the MMIWG First Nation, was shot by an RCMP officer June 12, 2020, at the home of a pastor about 33 kilometers from Miramichi. The officer, Scott Haight, who first arrived at the scene and fatally shot Levi, was the first to testify. He said he was not trained to use a taser and did not believe more training for RCMP officers is needed. Becky Levi, Rodney's leaf, was appalled.
I just wanted to shake him like, this is a human being. Rodney is gone forever. And you just can't admit you should have had a taser training. Or I don't know, it's frustrating.
This morning, about 30 family members and 6 jurors heard the 911 calls and said both callers told the dispatch Levi had knives and did not seem to be a threat. Haight testified that Levi did not want to give up the knives. The second officer on the scene was Constable Justin Napke, testified it was a mental health situation, and unsuccessfully tried to convince Levi to drop the knives and taser Levi 3 times. Levi dropped the knives, picked them up, and lunged at Haight, who then fatally shot Levi. Haight said he had no other option, and no extra training would have made a difference. Alyssa Lombard, the lawyer for the Levi family, says training is crucial.
Were those contributing factors to this incident? I guess we'll never know, really. However, what we do know is that if the training does not exist, then it becomes more likely.
The inquiry continues tomorrow with more witnesses and is expected to continue till Thursday. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Miramichi, New Brunswick.
Thanks for that, Angel. The fallout and reaction to the Prime Minister's decision to not attend any events for the first National Truth and Reconciliation Day continued over the weekend. Our Kent Driscoll has been following the reaction from Sunny Iqaluit. He joins us now. So, Kent, the story didn't just disappear over the weekend, did it?
Well, you're right. It sure didn't disappear. To recap, Prime Minister Trudeau took his family on vacation to Tofino, British Columbia on the first ever National Truth and Reconciliation holiday. He also told the public, that he was going to be taking meetings in Ottawa that day, not going on vacation. Now, the Prime Minister is apologizing. The Prime Minister's office has confirmed that Trudeau apologized to the Tk'emlúps t'saq Secwepemc Nation. Now, that nation had invited Trudeau, in writing, twice to visit. And they are the closest First Nation to Kamloops, British Columbia, where 200 unmarked graves were found at residential schools. The Union of British Columbia Indian Chiefs say they were happy that Trudeau apologized, but they followed with a scathing rebuke. Grand Chief Philip Stewart said, "I describe the Prime Minister as not having the qualities and integrity of a national leader, of an individual who holds the highest office in the land." Now, the AFN also joined in to rebuke the Prime Minister, and they also had some special words for media outlets that are covering the story. National Chief Roseanne Archibald put out a statement on Sunday saying, quote, "The Prime Minister must demonstrate through actions that he is committed to the healing path forward." To the media, she wrote, "I ask media outlets to give as much time to survivor stories as they are giving to the Prime Minister's behavior on September 30th. Now, if you'd like to see some of those survivor stories, just head on over to aptnnews.ca and click on the Truth and Reconciliation tab. Back to you in Winnipeg.
Thanks for that, Kent. Well, we need to take a break, but when we come back, the last of the numbered treaties is back to the territory where it was first signed. Stay with us.
Treaty 11 is an agreement between the Crown and Indigenous governments. And so as such, it was the Crown that held the copy, the original copy.
Welcome back. Two Manitoba First Nations communities who have been evacuated by wildfires for 3 months are finally going home. About 1,000 people from Little Grand Rapids First Nation are heading home today, and approximately 500 Pangasi First Nation members are going to be returning later this week. They've been in Winnipeg hotels since July due to wildfires. Manitoba Hydro finally restored power to these communities on the weekend. 91 poles and 32 structures had to be repaired. Roughly 4,300 people from 7 different Manitoba First Nations were evacuated this summer. Well, a mayoral candidate in Calgary has been sentenced to 18 months in jail for hate speech, the Calgary Herald reports. The newspaper reports that Kevin J. Johnson has been convicted of 6 violations of a court order that required him to stop making defamatory and racist statements about a Toronto restaurateur. Johnson didn't limit his public slurs to just Muslims. He'd actually made headlines for offending Indigenous people with an insulting line of coffee back in March. An Ontario judge has ordered Johnson to surrender to a Toronto jail on January 4th after he completes serving weekends in an Alberta jail, or he will face arrest. He is listed as one of 27 people running for mayor later this month. Well, the last numbered treaty to be signed in Canada is on display in Yellowknife. APTN's Charlotte Moore-Jacobs looks at the significance of this historic document and what can be learned during its stay at the territory it was signed.
As people of the North, it's important for everyone to understand treaty.
For the first time since its signing 100 years ago, the original Treaty 11 document is back in the North. It's on display at the Prince of Wales Northern Heritage Centre in Yellowknife, now until mid-October. Stored at a controlled temperature and humidity level, the historic document's on loan from the Library and Archives Canada in Ottawa. Territorial Archivist Erin Suliak says it took months of planning to get here.
Treaty 11 is an agreement between the Crown and Indigenous governments. And so as such, it was the Crown that held the copy, the original copy, and that's generally the case.
In the summer of 1921, more than a dozen Gwich'in, Satudene, Dechodene, and Klitcho communities signed the document with the intent of peace and friendship. But the federal government used treaty as a colonization tool to gain access to oil in Norman Wells.
Although we use the word negotiation, it wasn't really a negotiation because the terms of the treaty had already been decided and written in Ottawa prior to going north. But it was the negotiation with the Indigenous peoples to determine whether or not they would take the articles of the treaty.
Due to its fragility, each week a page will be turned for public viewing.
We wanted to be able to show every single page that the treaty is a part of.
But as Suliak explains, a mock recreation booklet of treaty is available for guests to browse and see for themselves how 1921 marked the beginning of a fraught relationship.
It's reflected in there, that strange disconnect between what actually is in the North and what Ottawa was looking to do. You know, here, if any Indians being desirous of following agricultural pursuits, such Indians shall receive such assistance as is deemed necessary for that purpose.
Suliak says the exhibit feedback has been positive, especially from signatory descendants.
Seeing the treaty helps me reflect on my roles and responsibility in this partnership.
While the recent COVID-19 restrictions have canceled the exhibit's in-person events, the museum is hoping to film the document and record reflective messages from leadership. Charlotte Moore-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Well, it's time for another break, but still ahead, hands across the water, a southern Ontario town reaches out on Reconciliation Day.
And I know our council has been working extremely diligently with staff to build a bridge with Alderville First Nations and in fact all Indigenous communities. We have a shirt today and everybody has the same message. Every child matters.
Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. From Gillam, Delaney Allen was able to catch this wonderfully placed road sign pictured under a rainbow up in northern Manitoba. You can keep those photos coming. You can email them to share@aptn.ca for a chance to be featured as our next photo of the day. Let's take a look now at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting out in the east, we've got 9 in cloud for St. John, 17 in sunshine for Charlottetown. Inukjuak 10 with a chance of showers, Coujawak 11 and rain there as well. Sept-Îles 13 and sunny skies, 20 for Montreal with a mix of sun and cloud. Ottawa 19 with a mix of sun and cloud, Sault Ste. Marie 23, mostly sunny. Kapuskasing sunshine 19, Timmins got a chance of showers and 19. Puckatawagan mix of sun and cloud and 11 degrees, Churchill sunshine and 10. 27 and sunny for Winnipeg, Princess Harbour and Barons River both 24 and sunny. Same with Saskatoon, 25 though in Yorkton and 27 in Regina. 11 in sunshine for Buffalo Narrows, cloudy for Stony Rapids with a chance of shower there, 9 degrees. Mix of sun and cloud and 6 degrees for Fort Chip, rain for Grand Prairie 6 degrees. 15 with a mix of sun and cloud expected for Edmonton, 28 in sunshine for Medicine Hat, 14 in showers for Vancouver, Bella Coola, 12 and rain. Dease Lake, sunshine and 6. Smithers, 8 and mostly sunny. 0 in sunshine for Beaver Creek, Old Crow, -1 with a mix of sun and cloud. Wauhatee, chance of flurries in 3 degrees, 1 and sunny for Norman Wells. Inuvik, 1 and sunshine. Paulatuk, 0 and sunny. Arviat, 6 and sunshine. Nuyat, cloud and 3 degrees. Kenite, you're looking at 5 and showers, same with the Iqaluit. A small southern Ontario town has unveiled a new commemorative crosswalk. Cobourg is located an hour and a half east of Toronto. It's the closest Indigenous neighbor to Alderville Nation. Their closest Indigenous neighbor is the Alderville First Nation. And together they are celebrating a new path forward. Here's Annette Francis to tell us how a crosswalk is going to do exactly that.
This small sea of orange on the corner of Albert and 2nd Street is a show of support for a brand new walkway. According to Mayor John Henderson, it's about moving towards reconciliation and honoring the legacy of residential schools.
We will build a united bridge. And I know our council has been working extremely diligently with staff to build a bridge with Alderville First Nations, and in fact, all Indigenous communities. We have a shirt today, and everybody has the same message. Every child matters. These are words, but I encourage all of us to put the words into action, because without action, they're just words.
The Seven Feathers crosswalk in the downtown core is painted orange with white feathers to signify the 7 grandfather teachings. Chief Dave Mowat gave an overview of the history of the residential school system that operated in Canada for over 100 years. Mowat says that's encouraging, but more needs to be done.
And the curriculum too needs to be tackled, and these lessons need to be fleshed out in more thorough detail for the young children.
Today, let us remember the thousands of unmarked graves.
Residential school survivor Stephen Pashagamshkam was born on a trapline in Fort George, Quebec. At the age of 6, he was taken away by plane. He said some of his friends didn't make it home.
When the plane landed again in our community, some mothers were anxiously waiting to see their children that never got off that plane. They didn't arrive because they were either not here with us anymore, or they were in hospital or something.
It's stories like this that Corey Matson says needs to be brought to light. He says the crosswalk is a conversation starter.
I think It's just the same with all of us wearing our shirts. It just gets people asking questions like what's going on, because this wasn't something that I learned or a lot of people learned in school.
After the ceremony ended, many took the opportunity to pose and share with their new crosswalk. Anna Francis, APTN National News, Cobourg.
It's a beautiful crosswalk. Well, and before we head out into the great beyond tonight, William Shatner will be blasting off to space next week, boldly going where no sci-fi actor has gone before. Shatner will be traveling on Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin rocket on October 12th. He'll officially be the oldest person ever to fly into space at 90 years old. He said in a press release, quote, "I've heard about space for a long time now, and I'm taking the opportunity to see it for myself." Shatner played the iconic role of Captain James T. Kirk in the original Star Trek series. Well, that is a wrap to your APTN News this week. I'm Melissa Ridgen. We always thank you for joining us. Have a great night.